What's up everybody? Nate here. So TV and movies have been captivating and more like distracting audiences in the United States for about 100 years now. And just like any industry that's been around for 100 years, there has been a lot of changes. Things really got crazy though when Blockbuster essentially changed the game and allowed people to bring that movie experience to their own home. And then just a few years later, Netflix took that to a whole nother level. Now you didn't physically even need to rent or own a movie anymore. You could completely stream them right to your house. Not only that, but for a small subscription fee every single month, thousands of movies and TV shows were available at people's fingertips. And for a long time there, it made your legacy and traditional media companies like NBC and Universal and CBS worry that they might not be around much longer. Well, now in 2022, the script is being completely flipped on its side for Netflix. Recently, Netflix had its Q1 earnings report for 2022, and it wasn't good. Netflix reported for the first time in 10 years that it actually lost subscribers, and immediately after that, it said that it was making two huge changes. It was finally going to start cracking down on account sharing, and also it might be introducing some brand new streaming models that feature ads. Investors and users did not like this, and Netflix eventually lost around $50 billion in market cap in just a few days. Not only that, but Netflix has done nothing but tank all this year, and it's now down around 65% from where it was at the beginning of 2022. So once again, we are at a crossroads between the future and past of entertainment. But the big question on a lot of investors' minds right now is Netflix going to be a part of entertainment's future? Or is this just the start of Netflix's decline? And as of right now, Netflix is dead. Well, today we're gonna be breaking down all of this and more. But before I get into that, do me a quick favor and hit smash or destroy that thumbs up button below and ring that notification bell too. Both of those two things are completely free and they help to show me that you like this video and that you want to see even more just like it. Thank you so much for doing that. And now I want to talk about what is going on at Netflix right now and why they're starting to fail. So Netflix has been kind of on a downward spiral for a long time now, and there are two major reasons for that. The first and foremost is account sharing. When you have an account at Netflix, you can essentially just give your password to someone else and they can use your account. You can have multiple different people on one single Netflix account. So essentially a group of 4 or 5 people can all use the same Netflix account and only end up paying the one subscription fee. Now that's bad for a lot of reasons because Netflix is now missing a ton of revenue that it could have been getting from all of those other people. This has led it to look into new ways on how it can start charging all of those additional people who are using one person's account. One of the ways that it plans on doing that in the future is to add a charge for all additional accounts that someone makes. So right now you can have a bunch of different accounts for different things and everyone can have access to their own account. That's really good for a user's experience because when you go into your individual Netflix account, all of that content is going to be curated towards you. Netflix wants to change that though and make it so every new account that you create, you have to pay for. It's not clear how much it's going to cost yet, but this is going to be bad for a lot of reasons. For one, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are simply going to stop using Netflix. This means that even if Netflix was to impose advertisements on their TV shows and movies, people just wouldn't see them, meaning that the ad revenue they're going to get is probably going to be a lot less. And it's going to hurt Netflix's shows in general because now, even if somebody was to go into that individual Netflix account, all of the content wouldn't be curated anymore. So there is a bigger likelihood that people are not going to find the shows that they want to watch. This has been one of my biggest problems with Netflix for a long time. Viewer fatigue. Whenever I go on Netflix and I try to find a TV show or movie to watch, there is just so much content. So much so that it overwhelms me. I have a really hard time picking a show because there is so many different options. What ends up usually happening is I don't pick anything. I'll either go somewhere else and watch something that I've already seen, or I'll take a chance on one of those shows. And if I don't like that show, then you have a much harder time of getting me to watch again. I'm not alone. There are many people that feel the exact same way about Netflix. And the other big issue that's been going on with Netflix over the past few years is the amount of competition. Netflix completely changed entertainment and media as we know it. You could now just stream whatever you want to, whenever you want. That ease of accessibility has made so many movies go viral over the last few years. But that model has been something that many other legacy media brands have tried to copy. That's exactly what they're doing right now. When Netflix first came out, it was so unique, and the internet wasn't really where it is today. Now there is just so much entertainment and education out there. Users can go on YouTube or Hulu or HBO or Paramount or any of these other places and find content. Meaning if the content on Netflix isn't keeping up with those other platforms, then Netflix is going to go down. People have been arguing online, well, the reason that Netflix subscriber count actually went down is because of its movies and TV shows. They're just not that good anymore. And obviously that is all a matter of opinion. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Netflix still has great shows or that it doesn't have great shows. What I'm saying is that there is just so much more out there. Sure, when Netflix was the only option, all of its shows looked great because it was a streaming platform that you couldn't find anywhere else. But now all of these different platforms have suddenly popped up and you can watch anything you want whenever you want. So now Netflix is just doing all that it can to survive. Now it's important to mention that Netflix's CEO actually said that the company is planning on having positive subscriber growth by the end of this year. So even though they're starting to shrink, it is a very slow shrink. But like I said, it's most likely going to continue to lose subscribers because it looks like Netflix is going to have to start instituting an ad model into its subscriptions. Netflix is in a really tough spot right now because since it basically started, it hasn't really had any ads. You basically just pay your subscription and you get access to thousands of different movies and TV shows with no ads. At first, that really set it apart because as legacy media started to roll out their versions of streaming services and competitors, they all had ads. So like every 15 minutes, you'd be stuck with a minute or two of ads, which really made no difference of watching it on TV. But legacy media really played the long game because now they actually have a model where people expect ads. Of course, they have some subscription services where people don't need to pay ads, but most of their subscriber base is watching ads. Netflix now has to start putting ads on its own platform because it's trying to make up for lost revenue. Many people are not going to like this and they're simply not going to re-up their subscription. And the people that eventually do stay are going to have a much harder time watching shows. It's going to be a lot more difficult to binge shows because you have to put so much more time towards those programs. I mean, if you're trying to watch an hour-long show and you have to watch 15 to 20 minutes of ads, a lot of people are not going to give it that extra 20 and 30 minutes. And eventually, that's going to lead to people just leaving Netflix in general. But like I said, Netflix is in a rock and a hard place here because it can't exactly not offer ads because it's losing so much revenue. And Netflix has come out and said that it doesn't know how it's going to do these ad subscriptions yet. It's not sure if it's going to be ads for everyone or if it's just going to be a cheaper option that people can choose and then get ads, or if there's going to be a more expensive option where people can pay more and get fewer to no ads. So with all that being said, what exactly is coming next for Netflix and streaming services in general? Well, unfortunately, this issue is most likely only going to get more difficult for Netflix. As more companies come out with streaming services, Netflix is just gonna have more competition. And it's not just legacy media that Netflix has to compete with. It's also YouTube. The number one issue with Netflix and its current model is that it's competing for attention. Its sole form of revenue is getting that attention, bringing new people in with brand new shows and content. Obviously, content and the creative process for making shows is widely different from show to show, and some shows just don't end up doing well. Other shows are going to bring so many people on board, but it can't exactly rely on that in order to make money. That's why it's a subscription subscription service. But if people are starting to go other places, then they're not going to re-up their subscription on Netflix. But YouTube is completely free, and a lot of people are now choosing it as their entertainment resource. I know a lot of people that don't watch TV at all. I know a lot of people that watch very few movies. What they do watch is YouTube. And the reason is whatever they're interested in, there is a YouTube channel for it. And if there's not, somebody is out there making it right now. It's really hard to see that and get that kind of feel with the legacy media streaming services and Netflix. You have to go off of what that service provides, and if they're not providing content that you like, then you leave. Netflix, I think, is going to be around for the foreseeable future because I think that they're a model that's going to ultimately adapt. They may start putting more ads in, and they might start taking away password sharing, but they are still a huge streaming service. They have over 220 million people worldwide on their platform. That is not going away anytime soon, so they have time to kind of roll out some changes and see how it goes. What is ultimately replacing Netflix, though, is your legacy streaming services. We're talking Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO Max, Paramount Plus, and all of these different places that are offering similar content. There's just way too much competition right now. And these other streaming services have kind of figured out the ad to no ad ratio. Basically looked at Netflix for a long time and then worked out all of the issues. Issues that now Netflix is trying to work out. And Netflix is looking at them. So even though we thought all of these legacy companies were eventually going to disappear from streaming services, they are actually the ones that are taking over right now. The only thing that's really going away is the way that we traditionally view media, like going to the movie theater or watching cable or satellite TV. That is what is truly going away and is shifting towards streaming services. Your big legacy media companies like Xfinity, Universal, CBS, and Fox are not going anywhere anytime soon. All they're doing is jumping on the next big thing, which is exactly what Blockbuster did in the 80s and 90s, and exactly what Netflix did in the mid-2000s. And for legacy media companies, it really doesn't make any difference because at first, streaming services were really appealing to a lot of people. Cable has a lot of channels, and if you don't like a lot of those shows, then you're paying for a bunch of channels that you never watch. Streaming services came out as a way for you to only watch the things that you want to watch. But now, streaming services are just replacing cable and satellite because you need an individual separate streaming service for just about every channel. So it's not really better, it's just different. But even legacy media needs to watch out for YouTube, same with Netflix, because all of those different types of content can be housed on YouTube. And it's completely decentralized. If you don't like a particular creator, then you can just go on to the next one. Versus streaming services, they may have one or two shows that are based on your interests. Just think of financial YouTube for a second here. There are so many different channels like Minority Mindset and Graham Stephan and Meet Kevin and Andre Geek and of course this channel. And that is just a few off the top of my head. There are thousands of others out there that you probably know about. People are watching those channels. People are watching those creators. And if people don't like a particular creator, like I said, they just stop watching. That is where we're headed next. And even though there's ads on YouTube, people tend to feel like they're getting a lot more value, something that they're not going to get with legacy media or a streaming service, making the competition for eyeballs even more intense. So yeah, it's not just Netflix that's in hot water here. It's legacy media and entertainment and streaming in general. And ultimately, you are going to be the ones that decide what replaces them. But now I want to hear from you on this issue. What do you think about Netflix cracking down on password sharing, putting ads on its platform, and essentially dying? Do you think that Netflix is just the first victim to the streaming war's decline? Or do you think that eventually Netflix is going to end up on top and streaming will continue to boom? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below before you go. But that is it for today's business and financial news breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to stay up to date with all of the top business and financial news from around the country, our team puts together a free daily newsletter, and you can subscribe to it by clicking the link in this corner right here. And if you want to stay up to date with me and everything else happening in the business and financial world, I'm putting out updates 7 days a week over here on this channel, and I've actually got another one ready for you right here, so be sure to check that out before you go. That is it for me, everybody. Be kind out there, and I'll see you all in the next one.